Hi there. So I just want to take a moment and give a little explanation about what it is to mean when you say you practice birth rights. Sometimes when I tell people that this is an area of law where I practice, I get some blank stares. People don't really know what it's all about. So I want to just take a moment and talk about that. So what are birth rights? So you might know that I'm one of the founding directors of the Birth Rights Bar Association. This is an organization that's dedicated basically to human rights in the context of pregnancy, labor, and delivery. So that's exactly what birth rights is all about. It's about human rights in that context. So some examples of cases that fall into this scenario is basically forced medical care during pregnancy. There's, for example, a case in New York right now. The woman, her name is Renate Dre, and she objected to cesarean surgery. It's been documented in her medical history, and the doctor chose to override her lack of consent and forced her to undergo a surgery anyway. So that's currently in New York courts. Another example would be a woman, her name is Kelly, and you can find her story on the Improving Birth website. I'll put this story in the show notes here. She objected to an episiotomy, and this was filmed, I guess with a little phone camera or whatever, and you can see in the video that she continually says, no, no, I don't want this. I want to have the opportunity to push out my baby naturally, and she's told no, and it happens anyway. So these kinds of forced care situations happen, and they need to be addressed. So that's what one aspect of birthright law is about. It's about addressing forced care during labor and delivery. Another aspect are things that are kind of ancillary to the birth process. For example, many people right now are looking to encapsulate their placenta, and this can cause a problem at a hospital. If you've given birth at a hospital, which most women do, the hospital may not let you have your placenta. So you need to know before you go in what the hospital policy is going to be. The way they categorize your placenta as tissue or medical waste, it's going to vary state to state and hospital to hospital what their categorization is, and then what state law says about what can happen with that category of things. So what your rights are to your own placenta come into play here. Another situation which is very serious is when a care provider chooses to call Child Protective Services based on your choice as to where you want to give birth and how you want to give birth. This has happened in numerous cases, either in situations where people have refused cesareans. This has happened in situations where a person has given birth at home and then transferred into the hospital, even after the birth and with a healthy baby and a healthy mama, just simply the choice to exercise the right to give birth where a woman wants to give birth has been questioned to the point of being classified as abuse or neglect. So those are also birthright issues. Another issue is access to care. So in a lot of states, there is no actual license available for midwifery practice in a home setting. And in states where there is a license for that, it might be so prohibitive and restrictive that it actually stifles the profession. So in a situation like that, that's another birthright law situation where midwives are being investigated because they're practicing without a license where there is actually no license available. So access to care is a huge birthright issue. Finally, there's also criminalization of pregnancy. For example, in the law that was recently passed in Tennessee about drug use during pregnancy and making that an assault case and a criminal charge. So this criminalization of behavior during pregnancy, especially with respect to addictions and things like that, that's another birthright issue. So that's basically what I'm talking about when I say birthright. And it's about respecting a person's right to choose what they want to have done with their body and with their family. It's about basic human dignity and human rights. It's about allowing a person to participate in the process with their care provider in making decisions about what's happening to their own body and what's happening for their baby as well. And this is not a Roe v. Wade situation. It's not about that kind of thing. It's about, it doesn't fall into the category of reproductive justice as we commonly understand that term nowadays. arguably, it might have fallen into reproductive justice when that term came about, decades ago, but that's kind of a topic for another video, perhaps. But this here, it's about the situation where it's not good enough for us to say that you have a healthy baby, so what are you complaining about? You have a healthy baby, so there's no problem. You have a healthy baby, so just get over it. And these are things that happen to people who've given birth and suffered trauma during that birth. And that's exactly what it is. It's trauma. So there are certain things that can happen when a person's basic human rights and basic dignity are not respected. Some of those things are actually recognized, like PTSD and postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, things of that nature. And there might be actual medical malpractice issues as well, but that's also kind of a separate track. But it's just basically about saying it's not good enough to say that you've got a medical outcome that we deem appropriate, so therefore any trauma that you suffered based on our decisions being hoisted upon you are illegitimate. So there you have it, birth rights. They're about basic, fundamental human rights, natural rights, and rights under our Constitution.